How does one create history? By beginnings, wars, innovation, success. In over 200 pages, explore 50 years of WWE's historical reign in sports entertainment. WWE 50. Available March 31st. Pre-order now online or wherever books are sold.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Harley Race.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
This is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
It's good to be great, but it's great to be fabulous.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders. I am Dan Marotti, and my lucky blue Hawaiian shirt that so many fans enjoyed from Hulk Hogan Day in Somerville and Tewksbury back on June the 28th. This man himself is rather fabulous himself. My close personal friend, Mr. John Cena Sr. Johnny, back again. The big weekend is here. SummerSlam weekend, you got some big announcements, brother.
I have some huge announcements for these fans. These fans are going to be taken back. It's the biggest thing that happened in the Millennium Wrestling Federation in a long time.
You promised something that's never been done in professional wrestling before.
Never, ever been done in professional wrestling. This is a first.
No hints.
No hints.
Johnny, you're unbelievable.
I'll tell you this.
All right.
How about if I tell you it's got to do with watch?
It's got to do with a watch.
With watch.
Change time?
Change time, watch time, TV time.
You did let people in on the big SummerSlam raffle awards. These are just some of the great prizes that are going to be up for grabs. 48 prizes in all. Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam, we're going to have one winner from anywhere in the country.
Daniel Bryan, John Cena.
You're talking, my gosh, we have
Hulk Hogan.
Alone, 9/11 by
Usos.
The Usos, 9/11 by 14 prints.
$1 Million Man,
These
Ted
are just a couple of
DiBiase.
them.
Look at that.
Big Van Vader.
9/11 by 14s, Johnny, and you said in honor of our 13th anniversary, 13 brand new WWE DVDs, 20 some odd autographed 8x10s, WWE pay-per-view chair, and a Hulk Hogan poster from his big event. You got the head, you got the apple, and so much more. Check out BostonWrestling.com. Get your raffle tickets. Those are going to help towards our current initiatives. And then we'll find out SummerSlam weekend itself, what you are up to. And I understand from some of my sources here at the studio, it's going to be a happening.
Dan, one thing you have learned about me, friend or foe, whatever I do in a big way. And I can tell you, and I can tell you, this is huge.
Unbelievable. Well, fabulous one. There is still a lot of news going on here in the world of professional wrestling. A lot of comings, goings in the sport. We talked about the network and TNA's issues last time. What about good old JR? The severance package is done. He is officially not with WWE anymore, and I think that's kind of sad.
Well, you know what? I can only say this, and I'm sure JR would agree with me. Nothing is forever. And I think that JR really said it best. He was proud to be in the business for as long as he was. He had a great run with the WWF, WWE. I think that as things change, times change. JR is probably the best in the business next to Gordon Solie.
You think Gordon Solie was better than JR?
I'll tell you, Gordon Solie was great. He was the voice of professional wrestling. And JR came in, and I think he kind of took the spot. JR had a lot of knowledge, a lot of ability. He knew talent, knew how to use talent. I think JR will be sadly missed. But he's got his one-man show, which he's starting to do now. He's now been offered some contracts doing some commentary.
And MMA, not wrestling.
Well, you know what? Stop and let's see where the wheel falls. He'll always be a WWE guy, so he says, but who knows? There may be another promotion that may need him. And the other thing is, you know, he's got the one-man show. I'm sure he'll take private bookings. So this could turn out to be a gift in disguise. You know, I'm a firm believer that in a dark room, people say, I just got fired. It's all black. Stop and look, because when you do, there's still a little bit of light. So there's always a light, and you can always survive. JR has done it, and done it big time. Nobody will ever fill the shoes of that man, and I really mean that. He's on to a great new beginning, a great new future. I expect to see a lot more of JR.
Unbelievable, Johnny. You said it best. Jim Ross doing a lot right now. I'd love to see one of his one-man shows. Maybe we could even see one here in the greater Boston area. That would be a treat.
Let's talk to my friends, Andy Wong at the Kowloon. It might not be a comedy show. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the Jim Ross show consists of. Who knows? Because I do things in such a big way. Should we ever do a wrestling show again in this area? And I've got to become a little arrogant on this because you know how I feel about this area. Now down south, it's a whole different story. Maybe we could get JR in as a special guest, ring announcer, or even special commentator or referee. I think...
You think JR is going to be a guest referee?
Well, you know what? JR has done a lot in his career.
He started off as a referee in the 70s.
Well, you know what? Who knows? But I tell you what a treat it would be for the wrestling fans of the MWF to have not only JR, but if I could afford it, and I can, I would think we might even get Jerry the King Lawler.
Going all out, Johnny. I'll say this, for wrestling fans that are indeed big JR fans, during Summerslam weekend, one of the showcase videos we're going to have is going to be Jim Ross's tremendous Cauliflower Alley Club Award speech back in 2010, presented to him by the one and only Stone Cold Steve Austin. We're going to Las Vegas again, even if it's via video, Johnny.
Listen,
I think you were busy at the Bunny Ranch.
The what?
The Bunny Ranch.
They raise rabbits there?
Well, they raise something there. I don't know how much help you may or may not need, but that's a different
I'm unfamiliar with that. I'm sorry.
For a different time. We're talking about SummerSlam weekend, though, Johnny. What about the man called Sting? Recently showed up for the first time on a WWE broadcast as part of the video game for WWE 2K15. San Diego Comic-Con, Sting was part of the Mattel action figure panel, which was not announced beforehand. Sting was there. They have a new figure coming out. Sting is going to be there for the reveal of all the characteristics and the superstars that will be part of the 2K15 game out in Los Angeles before SummerSlam. I'm sure there's going to be a Sting DVD forthcoming. The question is, will we see Sting in a WWE ring?
My prediction is yes. However, if I were WWE, I would certainly slice the cake before it gets stale. And what I mean by that is, you can tease. Eventually the fans are going to turn around and say, you know what, I really don't care anymore. Sting is an outstanding athlete. Sting is a tremendous individual and a credit to this business. Jim Borden, I believe, Steve Borden. I'm thinking of my other friend, who first names and last names. But Steve Borden, I think would be a credit. I think his one dream was to fight The Undertaker in one last match. Who knows what might happen at WrestleMania 31. But if the man from the rafters, if the Crow, if the man of mystery is ever going to appear, I'd say it's time. It's good for business.
I would like to see Sting, whether it be for a short run or maybe even extended stay in a non-wrestling capacity in WWE. Great match with Undertaker. But then again, where he is one of the few that never came to WWE over the years, there's a lot of potential dream matches for the man. But I think we may see a very select few, if not just the one. And I imagine that would be at WrestleMania 31.
Well, I can think of one match I'd like to see right now, and I think it would be a great match. I think Sting against Bray Wyatt would be very good. You've got good versus evil there. That would be outstanding. The mystery of Sting and the whole world in his hand, Bray Wyatt. You never know what he's going to do when he turns into that spider. It's a whack job. And then move up from there to the next thing, which is the Phenom. And, you know, I've got to say one thing. By ending that streak, and my friend and your friend, Bill Moody, Paul Bearer, and I think
Right here, brother.
Yep, and I think a lot of other professional wrestlers and indie wrestlers felt the same way. I think the streak was sacred. I don't think it should have ever ended, but it has.
I agree with that.
And I think that what you've done to the character is the steam is gone. The Phenom is no longer a Phenom. He's just the Undertaker, the wrestler. And I never believed that, because I have the greatest respect for that character and the individual that does that character. Whether he'll continue to draw the way he drew before, I think is a question that can only be answered by the fans. I think the fans will stand behind him, but I think by destroying the streak, you did nothing to boost the character.
I'll say this, and I'm going to try and look at it from a honest point of view. Hated the fact that he lost. As I said, I can understand the point of view where maybe it was time. It generated a lot of interest in the event, got a lot of mainstream publicity that they may not have received otherwise. Brock Lesnar, as a man, was someone that certainly could do it. I personally would have liked to have seen it gone in the direction of someone they could have built the company around on a more regular basis. That I've already discussed. But I'll throw it on this side. Does it make The Undertaker more vulnerable? That is taken into consideration if he does compete at WrestleMania 31 and other Manias going forward. I don't know how many matches he has left in the tank. Does it make the match a little bit more interesting because you don't have the quote-unquote guarantee of a streak anymore?
Not only that, I think that you have produced the vulnerability of a character that you've created as invulnerable.
Yes.
To me, that's a mistake. The mystique, the mystery, the pallbearer, the mist, the burying in the casket, the rising from the dead, the voice and the vision in the fog with Yokozuna, if you remember that one.
Providence Civic Center.
Right.
Royal Rumble 94, brother.
These types of things created the Phenom, created the man. Now you've said, wait a second, he's just like Dan Marati. He's just like John Cena.
He's doing better than me.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. He's worked hard at what he does. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous human being. And like all of us in this business, it begins to take your toll on your body. And my whole thing is, I'll go back and say it again, I don't think they did anything to help the character by destroying the character. And in my opinion, by letting him be beat, and of course Lesnar is the man that's got to do it. I mean, if you're looking for somebody who's a beast, who's cruel, who thrives on pain, who thrives on dishing out the pain and making people suffer, certainly Lesnar was the person to do it. I just don't think it should have happened. I think, if anything, it should have been 22-0, one more run with the belt, and have him rest in peace.
I don't know if physically he could hold up to that, though.
Well, one more run. It doesn't mean you had to hold it for 6 months. It doesn't mean you had to hold it for 4 months. It could have been a 2-month run. It could have been an appearance here and there, like Lesnar's doing now.
Yeah.
All right? That's what I would have done to finish out the legend, if I may use that word, of The Undertaker. But now what's happened is, again, you've burst my bubble. You burst my bubble. And so any match he has now, with whomever he has, the expectation of defeat is always looming over you. He's not that person that's going to sit up again with the raising of the urn, because you can't believe it. He's not that person that's going to have the mystique and the mystery that came with The Undertaker. You're not going to have that. I think that, yeah, maybe it gave him publicity. Maybe it was picked up all over the country, all over the world. It shocked the wrestling community. But what did it do for business? Triple H, what did it do for business?
We may find out Sunday night.
We may, indeed.
Brock Lesnar's first matchup since WrestleMania, when he takes on John Cena for the gold at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. It's just one match as part of the loaded Summerslam 2014 edition.
It's going to be heart against a beast. Let's see which one succeeds. I'm certainly rooting for John Cena. I think Lesnar needs to be stopped. I think Lesnar is a money mark, to quote my son. He shows up as a hired assassin whenever needed. Let's just see what happens. May the best man win, and I'm hoping that the best man, even though I think it's going to be, and I really mean this, I'm concerned about my son in this match. This is going to be a brutal match because Lesnar isn't coming to wrestle. He's coming to beat up, destroy, break bones, and bloody up my son. And I just pray, and I really mean this, that whatever happens, John comes out on top.
Are there any truth to the rumors on Facebook and Twitter that you may be in John's corner to counter Paul Heyman Sunday in Los Angeles?
Well, let's just wait and see. You never know. I'm all just full of all kinds of surprises.
Hey, you have a long history of success as a manager here in the Northeast and even beyond.
I've managed a lot of stars, WWE stars. I've been in their corners as their manager. Who knows? Who knows if John Cena Sr. will be in the corner of John Cena Jr. And the one thing that would satisfy me most would be to pop Heyman and drop him on his fat ass.
Fabulous indeed. We talk about more comings and goings, Johnny. What about the official ending of CM Punk's tenure in WWE?
I'm a fan of CM Punk. I'm a fan of Phil Brooks. I'm a fan of the character and the man who I think was a great professional wrestler. I am not a fan of the way he ended his career. I am not a fan. Look, you want to walk out on Vince and Triple H and Stephanie, you want to walk out on the company, that's fine. But you let down the very people who help you get where you were, that's the fans. That's the people in the locker room. You turned your back. You basically said, I don't give a damn. And you left the sandbox. You didn't want to play anymore. You had how many more months left on your contract?
Would have been about 6.
6 months. And you couldn't have waited. You couldn't have said that I needed to do special things. I'll finish it out and walk out and let the fans let me leave happy. I'll give them closure. Look, Brock Lesnar walked out on the business. Am I right?
Well,
he did. He said, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm finished.
We'll jump the gun.
Bang.
Rey Mysterio is in turmoil right now with WWE as well because his contract had expired, but because of the amount of time he missed due to his injuries, there's a clause in there that WWE can choose to extend it if they want to, and WWE utilized that option. Now, in both situations, granted they're a little bit different, you know, I understand they're both human beings with human thoughts, human emotions, but when you sign the contract, you agree to get the WWE machine behind you. It's a partnership between the athlete and the company to get as most value out of you as a performer as humanly possible. In the case of CM Punk, a man that's made millions and millions of dollars over the past few years, but he apparently was fed up with the WWE experience for him. What was the right way to end the relationship where he had a contract through July? Should he be unhappy and physically in pain for another 6 months? Was the right answer to walk out in the middle of a Monday Night Raw taping without giving closure to whatever the CM Punk character was doing at the time?
Let me put it to you this way. First of all, CM Punk is not the only person back there, and I've been back there, who's working through pain, who's working through injuries, who's working through sickness. I can give you a list of people who are back there with injuries that are out there entertaining the fans for the fans. Look, Jim Ross said it best on his blog. Yes, he was tired. Yes, he was hurt. Yes, he didn't like the direction in which things were heading, but he had an obligation. He had a written contract. When you sign a contract, my friend, you give me your word. July wasn't that far away. Why not ask for limited appearances? Why not ask not to do house shows, but I'll do the TV? Why not give those people who gave CM Punk, Phil Brooks, what he wanted? He wanted to be the best in the world. He did it. He proved it. But why turn your back on those people who supported you for so long? The fans are cheering for CM Punk now. Why? Because it was like going to a funeral with no body. There's no closure. He did not give the fans and did not depart the wrestling world, if I may use this word, and I don't want to insult or offend anybody, especially CM Punk. He did not give the fans of the wrestling world a chance to say goodbye. Improper closure, improper finish. In my opinion, very unprofessional way to walk into work. This is not a job at a bank or a supermarket or the MWF where if I get fed up with you, I'll just turn around and say, you know what? I quit and I'll walk. We have nothing in writing. I can do that. He had a contract. He had a bound agreement. WWE chose not to extend that contract, and I think wisely so, for a man that's never going to reappear. Let the fans chant all they want. There's one more indication of fans trying to be writers and run the business. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, I'll say this. If you're WWE, would you want CM Punk to stay through July if he wasn't exactly happy with the situation?
I would have sat down with CM Punk and found out exactly what he was unhappy about. And I'm sure, knowing CM Punk, he voiced what he was happy and unhappy about. You know, I've learned over many years of being a jerk and finally growing up that there is always compromise. Compromise can solve a lot of problems. You just don't walk in and go, screw you, I'm done. See you later, goodbye. You sit and you talk. I think Vince had it right when he said he's on a sabbatical. I think somebody was trying to work something out. Why it didn't work out, I have no idea. But I will say this, as a business person, regardless of what I think of him as an individual, and I have nothing but respect for Phil Brooks and for his character CM Punk, as a business person, I would say this, you'll never work for me again. Well, that's been said a lot in wrestling, but it often doesn't prove to be. Because it's all about the Benjamins. But if you're a true business person, you set an example by doing that. If you're going to kick the dog and kick the cat and then walk away, and I say you're never ever coming back, but then I see the potential of the hired assassin to make me money, I'll bring you back. What's that say to the rest of the people on your roster? I can hold you down like a pigeon and dump all over you, fly away, because I know you're going to call me back. What do I have? You know, in this business, it's called respect. Where's the respect now? Well, I think now just the name CM Punk, we talked about Twitter, Facebook, and so on recently, but I think now every time the fans are unhappy with a certain direction, at least vocally live at the Monday Night Raw tapings, instead of this match sucks, so on and so forth, they chant his name. You know what? If Bray Wyatt, and I said this to him backstage, if he's proved nothing else to the world, you see the guy that wears the sheep mask? That's not only symbolic of horror, and because there is a DVD out called You're Next, and it's got a man in a sheep mask. An interesting movie. I don't know if you watched it. I have. Oh, you did? I did, only because of the mask. Because of the mask. Because of the mask. Yeah. And I said, I got to watch this stupid, it's on Netflix, and I got to watch this movie. And you know what? Very interesting, very intriguing. But aside from that, Bray Wyatt has proved one thing. Look at all the sheep. He's created a following of sheep. They can't think for themselves. So one person begins to chant, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. What are you chanting for and who are you chanting for? Now, I can see you chanting, Jericho, save us. That was good. Jericho did come back. Jericho was Raw. Jericho did save us. Chant whatever you want. They believe by yelling, they're going to get what they want. Wrong. Wrong. It doesn't work. And Bray Wyatt has proved to the masses, and I'm going to say this, you can't think for yourself. No. Come on down and be part of this evil. Don't believe in God. I am, and he said it several times, I am the devil. I am reincarnated. And these people are sucking it up. They follow the leader. He is the goat, and they are the sheep. And the one thing you fail to realize is every goat ultimately leads the sheep to slaughter.
All right, we talked about CM Punk. What about a little bit on Rey Mysterio? His contract actually expired, and WWE chose to extend it because of the time missed. I guess Rey is not even cashing his checks. If that's true, it's very sad. That is one hell of a character for kids.
Rey Mysterio is an outstanding athlete, a great performer. I've had several opportunities to meet him, several opportunities to talk to him. You know what? I wonder if it's a case of I can't perform anymore, or I won't perform anymore. I won't perform anymore is the last issue we took a look at. How badly he was injured, I don't know. That's never come out, so I can't speak to that.
He's had numerous operations on his knees.
Well, I can tell you about somebody who has neck operations, a pectoral muscle ripped off, who's worked with a bad knee, a busted ankle, who finished a match with a torn pectoral. I can tell you about people in the back who've gone out with cracked ribs, dislocated arms, who have finished matches. I don't need a crying towel, and neither did he. He's the one that was straight edge. He's the one that could do it all. Well, you know what? Kleenex is a wonderful company. You ought to buy a case because you're going to need them. But in terms of Ray, I think that they're right in look, I call it like I see it, even though I respect the man.
That's why you're JVAB.
You know, Ray is an outstanding individual. I think WWE is correct in extending his contract. I think they're correct in taking this character and saying, we want you to continue and pick up where you left off for us. Now, whether there's a difference in the meaning of the minds, that could be a business situation. That's maybe what's happening here. It isn't a case of he doesn't want to perform. It isn't a case of maybe he has limited performance ability now. But I just think it's got to be a meeting of the minds. I don't know how long they've extended his contract for. I believe another 6 months.
A year, I think.
A year? Well, let's see what happens. But by not cashing your checks, you have truly sent a message to the top banana. I don't work for you anymore. That's basically what he's saying.
Great guy, great career. I think it'd be very sad if we don't see him on the national landscape again. And not the final moment, but one of the final moments fans got to see him was the Royal Rumble this year. I think he came out number 30, which fans anticipated as Daniel Bryan, and he got booed out of the building. He certainly deserved a better fate than that.
That's why wrestling fans, you know what, take it for what it is. The fans need to know one thing. I don't care whether you boo me or whether you cheer me. The fact is you're making noise. Now, whether he deserved that or not, they bought a ticket. They had a right to do whatever they did. Ray is a big enough individual to accept that. Does it hurt you when you're well respected and cheered most of the time? It's a reaction from a bunch of fans reacting to something they wanted and didn't get it. It's like you and little Marati. He wants an ice cream and you're not going to give it to him. Now he starts to throw a tantrum. Now he says, I want that ice cream. You're not going to have it. Well, that's where we are. So I'll tell you how I'm going to get back at you. I'll kick you in the knee. Well, Ray turned around and came out expecting this ovation. The fans said, you know what? You didn't give us Daniel Bryan. That's what we wanted. That's what we wrote into our script. So now you know what we're going to do? We're going to take your hero, bring him down to nothing. Boo. It's a whole different wrestling community today than it was before. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Rey Mysterio. I hope and I pray that he comes back on the scene because I'm with you. I loved watching him. I think he's a tremendous performer, and I think he needs to go out with a fanfare. He needs to give the fans closure. Yep, I agree.
Well, we'll see what happens with Rey Mysterio. 2 big signings for WWE. Fans may not be a heck of a familiar with if they're not fans of New Japan Wrestling or non-WWE wrestling, so to speak. Kenta and Fergal Devitt, a man that has competed here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation in the past, are both WWE bound. They're getting used to a WWE ring down in NXT as we speak. We're talking about 2 world-class athletes that are going to be probably appearing sooner than later in WWE.
I would expect to see them sooner. Kent is going to keep his name, I understand. They haven't changed that yet. Outstanding professional athlete in the Japanese wrestling world. Let's see what he does here. We've had other wrestlers who were outstanding in the Japanese wrestling world that came in and were outstanding, and some couldn't adapt to the United States or American style professional wrestling. Fergal Devitt, better known as Prince, I'll tell you what.
One of the best.
I enjoyed working with him here. An outstanding human being.
Great guy.
A great professional wrestler. I think he's going to turn a lot of heads. He's going to make a lot of points. I'm telling you what. Another JFab prediction, John Cena Sr. prediction. I look for this kid to be up in the main event status.
He actually challenged me to a race back in November of 2005, saying the next time he saw me, he wanted to have a race, and he thought I was going to win. I think the Vegas odds makers wouldn't agree with that if he was to pop on down to MWF Studios.
Look, I certainly wouldn't put any Fabo bucks on that one, because that would definitely be a losing proposition. The only thing you're good at is throwing that stupid cane at people and hitting them in the face. Outside of that, I've got a turtle that could probably beat you.
Come on, Johnny. Let's talk about two more friends that have said farewell to the world of wrestling via retirement. Vickie Guerrero said farewell to WWE in great fashion on Monday Night Raw not too long ago with her Eddie Guerrero shirt and theme song. And Santino Marella retires from the Squared Circle due to a continued neck injury. Big fan of yours, I know.
Santino Marella?
Yes.
Santino Marella, this is the Cobra. You gotta have the Cobra. I want to tell you something about Santino. Outstanding human being, and I really mean that. I met his mom and dad at WrestleMania 30. He's just a tremendous individual, a tremendous athlete. I don't know if he's got a background in jiu-jitsu, karate.
Yes.
He really is an all-out great professional athlete. There's a good example of somebody's career that had to end because of injury. I'm sad, I really am. And you saw my tweet. As Bob Hope would say, Santino Marella, thank you for the memories. And I meant that. He's a great man. He helped me out when I got kicked in the head by Randy Orton, explained a few things to me. And as far as Vickie Guerrero goes,
someone I thought there was great potential to be a rival of yours or even a frenemy, so to speak.
I would have loved to have the opportunity to work with her and against her. I always used to tell her when I saw her in the back, she's probably one of the best heels I have seen because like Paul Heyman, who I have the utmost respect for, and another great heel, all Vickie Guerrero had to do was come through the curtain. She got booed, and all the fans, you can tell when you've got it because you got the boos and then you got, excuse me, from the fans. And she's another one who has parted with the world of professional wrestling in style, in class.
People are going to remember that one. Even if they don't realize they're going to remember it.
Future Hall of Famer.
You're going to remember that one.
Future Hall of Famer. I really believe that. Departed with class, and I want to say this personally to you, Vickie, you always were class. She was a professional. Vince believed in her. She had a doubt in her own mind, but he helped her grow and accept, and she proved to the wrestling community that she had it. A class act. She, Santino Marella, along with a lot of other individuals, will always be right there in my book of class professional people. I'm sorry to see them both go. Talk
about Vickie Guerrero. This is someone with no wrestling background whatsoever, brought into the limelight under the worst of circumstances, and look at what she turned into. That's, I don't know if I'd call it a great story because of the way she had to come in, but what she did with what was handed to her was remarkable.
She started from here and reached the top of the ladder, and one thing I can say about both her and Santino Marella, is humility was always with them both. They never forgot who held the ladder. And when they came down, they thanked everybody who stood beside them and helped them. To me, that is the sign of a true athlete.
All right, Johnny, we're running out of time. Again, we are literally just hours away from your big Fabo announcement for Summerslam weekend. I am looking forward to it to see what you have up your sleeves this time. And your sleeves can run rather deep. But we also did already get the announcement. The Fabo raffle that runs through Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam. 48 tremendous prizes. You get 9 11x14s with some of the biggest superstars and legends in the sport. In honor of the MWF's 13th anniversary, you get 13 brand new WWE DVDs. As you see here, 20-some-odd autographed photos, a WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view chair. Johnny, how do you do it, brother? You took my idea and look at what you've done with it. I mean, you've turned it into something that fans anywhere in the United States can take part in.
And I hope a lot of fans do take part in this, because what I have put together, based on your foundation, remember, every great building has to have a foundation. Then it's the man or the woman that takes it and creates the rest of the building. So you laid the foundation, you had the base, I merely picked up where you left off and have made it bigger and better. Through my contacts, through the knowledge I have in the business, you are getting something that you cannot ever get anywhere else.
And that's a true statement. That's not hype.
It gets bigger. It gets bigger all the time. If you notice what I've done, it gets bigger. It doesn't get smaller. I mean, the last time you get dinner with me, you've got autographs, you've got all kinds of things. I mean, take a look at what you have here. A Hulk Hogan autograph, what's that worth? Daniel Bryan autograph, what's that worth? I mean, take a look at the DVDs. Take a look at the package. So I hope a lot of fans will bid. Remember, it's going towards helping us so that we can give you a better product somewhere down the road.
Unbelievable. Johnny, we are running out of time again. SummerSlam weekend, state-of-the-art studio shoot interviews. Usually they'd be sold on DVD. They're going to be available for free. Great MWF action that has never appeared online before. Free. We got the Vader studio shoot interview, Demolition, the Iron Sheik studio shoot interview, seen by millions, that's no exaggeration, millions of fans on YouTube, as well as even heard around the world on the Howard Stern Show. A feather under my cap. We're talking about the Eric Bischoff 90-minute interview, footage of Hulk Hogan from his appearances, the Demolition studio shoot interview we did back in June. Johnny, it's going to be a happening, but we need to find out why. How do we find out? We have to wait until Friday morning when the SummerSlam weekend kicks off on BostonWrestling.com. Any final thoughts before we go?
Nope, it's been a pleasure. My hat's off to, again, those people who have left the profession, Vickie Guerrero and Santino Marella, and to all the professional wrestlers and staff of WWE. My thanks, my heartfelt humbleness for allowing myself the honor of being part of your shows. And to all the fans of professional wrestling, thank you. And to the fans of MWF, you haven't seen the last of J-Fat.